What's poppin', homies? It's your favorite homegirl, Gossip Girl, and today we're going to talk about Kathleen Lee. Okay, she is the grandmother to Marisa Galloway's 4-year-old daughter. Okay, it's a lot to unpack. It's crazy, so bear with me. So 65-year-old Kathleen Lee, she's a retired probation officer from Chicago. She fatally shot Marisa Galloway, okay, on an Upper East Side street on Friday, just down the street from Gracie Mansion. And then she turned the gun on herself, okay? Kathleen Lee shot Marisa Galloway, who was 45 years old, on East 88th Street near York Avenue at about 8:50 a.m. And then she unalived herself in apparent murder-suicide. This is an ongoing custody dispute, Kenny said. Now, Kenny, he is NYPD Chief of Detectives, Joseph Kenny. That's who Kenny is, Mr. Kenny is, all right? Noting that the child in question was 4 years old. See, Marisa Galloway had 2 children. She had a 1-year-old child and she had a 4-year-old child. The 4-year-old was Kathleen Lee's grandchild, all right? And the father of that child is Zachariah Reed. And Zachariah Reed is the son of Kathleen Lee, okay? Now, Galloway's 1-year-old daughter, who is not, at the heart of the custody battle, she was found strapped into a car seat in the back of Marisa Galloway's car. But the baby was unharmed. She was unharmed. Now, as I'm giving you this commentary, you're going to see pictures. You're going to see pictures from the security camera. So you mean to tell me the 4-year-old was with the father, okay? Kathleen took it upon herself to, carry on in this way. Why? Why is she even in this? This is between Zach and Marisa. And I feel like this was planned. And we will probably never know if it was planned or not, because he's going to cover for his mother. Okay? Because I just can't see the grandmother being so involved to the point she's taking it into her own hands to unalive Marisa just so that her son could have full custody of their daughter that they share. That's wrong. And I feel like the Galloway family, Marisa's family, they probably won't even see that child. You know what I'm saying? It's just, this whole thing just stinks, because why is Kathleen getting into this? But let's continue. And then you unalive Marisa on the street. You unalive yourself, and a 1-year-old baby is in the car by herself. Oh, but your grandchild is with the father. So she didn't care that this 1-year-old baby was in the car by herself. She didn't care that this 1-year-old baby mother is gone. But as long as the 4-year-old has her father, I guess it's okay. But the 4-year-old is missing a mother as well. See, let me tell you something. Custody battles can get very nasty. They can get very nasty quickly. And I really do think that Kathleen should have stayed out of it. As a grandparent, you can feel how you want to feel. You can give your son advice, but don't get into it. Oh. The shooting took place 2.5 blocks from Galloway's apartment building, with news of her death stunned the tenants. And everybody in the building had nothing but good words to say about Marisa. Now, one woman was so distraught after hearing what happened, she hunkered down onto a tree pit guard with her head clutched in her hands. "They shot Marisa," she screamed at a guard inside her building. Who's looking after the kids?" That's what she said. Other neighbors described Marisa as a devoted mother to her 2 daughters who was plagued by her ex. She always talked about the fact that she had a former husband that was harassing the hell out of her. Okay? The neighbor said that one night, ACS workers knocked on her door. They were asking if I, heard any problems next door. And this is the lady named Miss Merrill. I'm not going to give her last name, but her name is Miss Merrill. And she's Marissa's neighbor. So they knocked on Miss Merrill's door and asked her, her, "Hey, have you heard any problems next door?" Whatever the case may be. And she said no. She's a lovely woman and she's a lovely mother. Now, Miss Merrill described Marisa as a runner, beautiful girl who would take her daughters out with her on runs in one large stroller and the other trailing behind. She used to tell me, "I can't get him out of my life," Miss Merrill said about Galloway's relationship with her ex. "It's just terrible." Now, cops have been called to Marissa's home 4 times between 2021 and 2022. All of the incidents involved arguments between Galloway, the 4-year-old's father, and Lee over visitation rights and other custody matters. Now, see, there go Kathleen Lee again in the business. Marisa and Zach have a 4-year-old daughter together. So, of course, they're going to have arguments because they're going through a custody battle. But there's the grandmother right there with her son going against Marisa. Now, according to the police sources, the child's father reported bruising, on the little girl in both April and August of 2022. But both complaints were closed by ACS and was unfounded. No arrests were made, said Detective Kenny. A custody case against Galloway was filed by Zachariah Reed, which is the child's father, on August 20th, 2021 in a Manhattan Supreme Court. Now, according to a state court database, the last appearance was a settlement conference in December of 2023, according to the database. Lawyer Matthew Elrich, who represented Marisa in the proceedings, was shocked by her murder. "I worked with Marisa very closely for the last 3 years," Matthew said. "It's an unfathomable tragedy. My heart goes out to Marisa and her daughters and her family." Law enforcement sources said the older daughter's father had custody from Friday to Monday, while Marisa had the girls the rest of the week. Now, the shooting happened on the day the child was due to be with the father. At least 3 shots were fired at the mom, the cops said. Now, video recovered from the scene shows the victim putting her baby daughter in the back seat moments before she was shot in the head. And this is on video. She's put in the stroller in the trunk when she's approached by Miss Lee, who shoots her in the head, Detective Kenny said. When Galloway is on the ground, she shoots her in the back. Cops recovered 2 firearms on the scene. One was found on the sidewalk and the second was found in Lee's tote bag. Now, neither gun is reported stolen. Cops are trying to determine if the weapons were used by Lee when she was a probation officer for Cook County in Chicago. Now, Kathleen's last known address is Chicago. Police believe she was living in New York City with relatives for the last 3 years. Now, Marisa, a graduate of Fordham University with undergraduate and graduate degrees, was remembered by the school in a statement on Friday. Now, the school said that Marisa earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in 2001 and a Master of Science degree from the Fordham Graduate School of Education in 2005. She was also a high jumper for the Rams and participated in sprints and relay teams, placing 3rd in the high jump at the Metropolitan Championships in her senior year. Now, Gracie's mansion, home to Mayor Adams, is less than a block away from where the murder-suicide took place on East End Avenue. And I love that area. That area is so beautiful and it's so nice and quiet. The shooting brought NYPD officers who were part of the mayor's protective detail and were stationed near Gracie Mansion. Mayor Adams also showed up at the scene within minutes, a police source with knowledge of the case said. City Hall referred all inquiries about the shooting to NYPD. Now, Michael Donovan, as superintendent of an East 88th Street building, was cleaning up outside when he heard gunshots. I ducked into the doorway for cover, and then I looked and I saw the lady with the white hair fall onto the sidewalk, Donovan said. When I went closer, I saw there was another woman lying behind the car who was also shot. A second later, he peered into the car's back seat. There was a child in the car, he said. I called 911. The police responded immediately and EMS. The gun is still there on the scene. Kathleen died at the scene, cops said. Marisa Galloway was taken to an area hospital, but she didn't survive. The trunk was open. The doors were open, Donovan said. It looked like they were packing stuff up or taking stuff out. Oh, man. Other area residents said the double shooting shattered the security they felt in this, little Manhattan carve out, which is nice. If you ever walked around in that area, it feels so safe and it feels just comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So someone said, generally I would feel safe here until today. Longtime area resident Denise Sweeney. Sweeney said she was a little surprised when she heard about the unaliving. There's always a lot of cops there, she said, noting Gracie's mansion is in the distance. So just because Gracie's mansion is like a block away, it's going to be cops in that area all the time. Because that's where, the mayor lives. Or that's where he be over there. We don't know what the mayor does when he's in there. We don't know what's going on. But yeah, this case is just so crazy. And then not only that, Kathleen she had this well planned and well thought out. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. She has terminal cancer, right? She was staying with her son. They were going back and forth with this battle of, he will always say Marisa did something to the child and it wasn't true. Back and forth stuff. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And of course, the mother is running the mix, minding her son's business, okay? But she also wrote a 7-page letter. Okay? Yeah, she wrote a 7-page letter. So let's talk about that. A note penned by the terminally ill grandmother who gunned down her daughter-in-law and then herself on an Upper East Side street provides shocking new insight into her troubled mind that was revealed by the law enforcement sources. The 7-page note found in Kathleen's pocket after the horrifying murder-suicide last week detailed her suffering from cancer and had bad blood with the victim, Marisa Galloway, whom she fatally shot twice in front of a baby. Kathleen, 65, ranted that Marisa tried to alienate her 4-year-old daughter from her son, the girl's father. Describing the contents of the letter, which was scrawled with the words "for police." She also wrote that no one believed her and her son's contentions that Marisa abused the child, an accusation twice found to be unfounded by City Child Services investigators. The 4-year-old was the subject of a long-running, bitter custody dispute between Galloway, a special education teacher, and Lee's son, Zach, that included allegations of abuse on both sides. Lee had frequently complained to neighbors in the East 79th Street building where she lived the last 3 years with her son that Marisa abused the child. Now, beyond being unsupported by 2 ACS investigators, the accusations didn't square with the portrait from friends and neighbors of Marisa Galloway as a loving, doting mother, but them over there, Kathleen and Zach, they painted her to be this monster. Okay? Now, like I said before, the little girl is in her father's custody. Okay? But NYPD is still investigating. Still investigating. And she was also with her father when the grandmother executed Marisa on Friday. So I think Kathleen had this thought out. She had this thought out. She was like I said before, she was an adult probation officer who worked for 17 years before retiring in 2014. Now, the police believe she acted alone in the unaliving and have no evidence that her son knew anything about his mother's cold-blooded plan, according to sources. And I find that very hard to believe. Now, in normal circumstances, when one parent dies, the other parent becomes, the sole custody of that child. But this case is tragically unique, said family law and domestic violence lawyer Valentina Shocks. We would need to know if the grandmother was acting on her own, she noted. But you know what? I don't think so. I think this was thought out between the grandmother and her son so that he can have full custody. Marissa's out the way. they'll have the 4-year-old. They couldn't care less what happened to the 1-year-old because the 1-year-old doesn't belong to him. The 1-year-old has a different father, okay? Which is pretty messed up because you didn't care about this little one not having a parent. Very selfish. As long as you get the 4-year-old, and I feel like she made sure her son got the 4-year-old. And I'm telling you, I feel like he knew what was going on. She has cancer. She's terminally ill. Do you think she cares about living? No. She wants her son to have full custody of his 4-year-old daughter without Marisa being in the way. So she got Marisa out of the way so that her son could have full custody. But you know what? I'm going to keep my eye on this case because I feel like more things are going to come out. The police is still investigating. So we're going to see what they come up with next. But anyway, those of you who listen to this far, let me know in the comment section. Do you think that Kathleen and her son planned this so that he can get full custody? Because that's what it's given. That's what it's given. But anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys later.